Welcome back to Church Growth 301. This is an historical overview of the discipline. You will learn, number 1, information about the father of church growth. 2, the significant events from the history of church growth. And 3, the significant people from the history of church growth. The father and founder of the church growth movement is Dr. Donald McGavran. He was a missionary to India for over 30 years, and he saw the lack of long-term results in the major denominations in America and around the world, and he determined that he would do something about that to help churches begin to grow, to reach people for Jesus, to practice evangelism and outreach. His first book was The Bridges of God, in which he evaluated the current methods of missions and proposed new mission methods. It might be interesting to you to realize that he designed the church growth movement primarily for use in international missions, but those principles were later placed in a context to help reach people in the United States of America. Donald McGavran had a new way of thinking. He wanted to do missions in a different way, a way that would be more effective and more efficient. He had methods he advocated, and those included the importance of numerical growth. He believed that a church should grow. Also focus on receptive groups. That is, when you found a group of people that became interested in the gospel, you would begin to share the good news with them over a group that was not receptive to the good news. Science is a valid tool. You could use sociological research and other types of research to know how to pinpoint those receptive groups, and right methods will provide results. He believed that every church should grow, and if they used the right methods, then they certainly could grow. Over the next several slides, I want to share with you the historical events that helped shape the church growth movement. We will only hit the highlights. I will only mention the points briefly and move on. Donald McGavran publishes the book, The Bridges of God, in 1955. You will remember this was his first writing. Then there was the establishment of the Institute of Church Growth at Northwest Christian College in 1961. This is in Eugene, Oregon, and Northwest Christian College is a college that has been historically affiliated with the Churches of Christ and Christian churches. Then there was the publication of the Church Growth Bulletin in 1964. This was distributed to those churches and leaders that had an interest in church growth. Then in 1965, the relocation of the Institute of Church Growth came to Fuller Theological Seminary. Then there was the establishment of the William Carey Library in 1969. This was for the purpose of mass publication and the circulation of church growth books. There is no shortage of church growth books today. As you see from the bibliography of this course, there's no shortage of books that have been written on church growth, and so the William Carey Library was established to facilitate the production, distribution, and sales of church growth books. Now, as we continue this historical overview of events, we see that Elmer Towns published the 10 largest Sunday schools and what made them grow in 1969. Towns was the very first to use scientific principles of social research to establish church growth principles. More about Elmer Towns later. Then there was the publication of McGavran's book, Understanding Church Growth. That happened in 1970. Alan Tippett publishes the book Church Growth and the Word of God. And then Ralph Winter publishes the 25 Unbelievable Years, 1945 to 1969. It chronicled the movement of God in an unusual way in those 25 years. More about these men in a later slide. There are 2 additional slides that talk about the historical overview of church growth. This is one of those 2 slides. Dr. McGavran and C. Peter Wagner instituted the Fuller Evangelistic Association. And then the Department of Church Growth at Fuller was established in 1972. And then the creation of the Institute for American Church Growth by McGavran and Win Arn in 1973. This provided information and research on North American church growth. This began an emphasis not on missions outside of the United States, but now the focus was on the United States of America and North America. Then the church growth movement grew significantly during the 1970s and 1980s. It was really the buzzword of the era. We're at the last slide that talks about the historical events that are a part of the church growth movement. Donald McGavran died in 1990, and C. Peter Wagner then carried on the Department of Church Growth at Fuller Theological Seminary. Then John W. Elias wrote a book entitled Measuring Church Growth, a research-based tool for evaluating and planning. Here he began to use sociological methodologies and other tools such as that to help foster continuing growth of a local church. From an historical overview of events, we now come to an overview of the people. The people who carried the church growth movement are very significant. We've already talked in depth about Dr. Donald McGavran. I want to talk a little bit about Elmer Towns. Elmer Towns was born in 1932 and is the co-founder of Liberty University. It's the largest private nonprofit university in the world. Towns is also a prominent Christian leader, author, and speaker. He talks about church growth, church leadership, Christian education, Sunday school, prayer, and fasting. He has authored many books, 8 of which have been listed on the Christian bestseller list. That's Elmer Towns. He really helped us understand how important Sunday school is to church growth. Alan Tippett was an Australian missionary to the Fiji Islands for more than 20 years. He was an academic in the United States. He was the son of a Methodist pastor and from a family of a long-standing tradition in the Wesleyan movement. He was a professor at Northwest Christian College in Eugene, Oregon. Do you remember that school from our earlier presentation that talked about some of the events? That is the very place where the church growth movement began in an academic setting. He earned his PhD in anthropology at the University of Oregon in 1964 and taught at Fuller Theological Seminary. And then Ralph D. Winter, born in 1924, died in 2009. He was an American missiologist and Presbyterian missionary who helped pioneer theological education by extension. He raised the debate about the role of the church and mission structures and became well known as an advocate for pioneer outreach among unreached people groups. He was the founder of the U.S. Center for World Missions, the William Carey International University, and the International Society for Frontier Missiology. In 1974, he was a major presenter at the College for World Evangelization in Lausanne, Switzerland, an event that truly revolutionized church growth. It was a watershed of global missions. You may remember that the Congress for World Evangelization was organized by evangelist Billy Graham. And last, we find Win Arn. Win Arn is the founder of the American Institute of Church Growth and Church Growth Incorporated. He's the author of more than a dozen books and numerous films. He's a respected church leader. Dr. Arn has led seminars and training sessions for clergy and laity around the world, and his son carries on his work today, Charles Arn.